I don't know if they changed. I didn't read this earlier. The Keeper of the Grove changed, but I'm assuming it's probably the same. Um, which is balance restoration. They like treants. Not sure how I feel about that for balance particularly, but we'll kind of see how it goes. So anyways, we're just gonna kind of read through these, talk about them a little bit. So you got the main passive, which I guess there's two different versions. So you got Dream Surge, Force of Nature. Grants 3 charges of Dream Burst, causing your next Wrath or Starfire to explode on the target. Dealing nature damage to nearby enemies, damage reduced beyond 5 targets. Kind of curious if that does any like single target damage. Do you get like bonuses for that? That might not be bad because Druids kind of struggle. Like balance has issues with like the like lower target counts. So that might be helpful depending on how much damage it does. Then you got the Resto Druid equivalent. Causes your next targeted heal to create 2 Dream Petals near the target, healing up to 3 nearby allies. Stacks up to 3 charges. Is that kind of like a? I guess that's like an AOE kind of similar to like the mushroom. Um, I don't know if it's actually like gonna be like a pull or if it's just gonna like do healing, like smart healing to targets. Gov Guardian's already kind of strong, like passive healing, so that might be pretty good. Um, Nothing crazy though. You just kind of like fire and forget this stuff. Don't really change anything. Row 1. I got Trains to the Moon. Your trains cast Moonfire on nearby targets once every 6 seconds. That's pretty good, especially balance. Spreading Moonfire is fucking annoying. So many globals. I hope this is kind of smart targeted, like something like the Elemental's Fire Totem, where it gets targets that don't have Moonfire. That'll probably be pretty helpful. Expansiveness, your mana is increased by 5%. I know Resto Druids are probably. That doesn't sound like much, but considering how mana currently plays, that's pretty big. And maximum astral power, I don't think that is really that huge. Um, I could see this being good for because there's sometimes you have like the buff you get from dropping eclipses. That's you sometimes want to just keep casting to let that drop. Like you don't want to cast astral power spenders because you'll um get the like procced incarn. So sometimes you do want to hold on to that so you can proc incarn with the haste buff. So that might be kind of useful for that, but I don't think like your normal gameplay will really change that much, if I'm being honest. Protective growth. Your regrowth protects you, reducing damage by 8% while your regrowth is on you. That's not really useful for balance. Like you don't really cast regrowth that much. Like it's not like you have some sort of proc like Feral or Guardian does. You just kind of have to natty cast it, so I don't really see that being that great. But it also says only you, so I feel like that'd only be really that good if it like was targets you cast it on, like for resto. I guess it's kind of helpful, but it could be better for sure. I think that's kind of like a not great one. Choice talent, power of nature, duration of nature. Power of nature, your force of nature treants no longer taunt. Do they actually? Do they actually currently taunt? That seems so weird. And deal 20% increased damage. Your Grove Guardians increase the healing of your rejuvenation, efflorescence, and life bloom by 5% when active. That is fairly good. It's a lot more hot healing that you can pretty much sustain like entirely. Like you could have insane uptime on this. It doesn't stack, so it's just like a little 5% increase, or at least it doesn't say it stacks. So, I feel like that'd make you want to like not press Grove Guardians like multiple times. You'd probably want to hold stacks to keep that active, keep uptime. Durability of nature. Your force of nature treants have 50% increased health. Seems kind of worthless. I don't know if they get cleaved down or not. Your Grove Guardian, Nourish, and Swift Mend spells also apply a minor Cenarian ward that heals target over 8 seconds the next time they take damage. That seems fairly good in like a Mythic Plus scenario. This seems more raid, I think, efficient. Cenarius Might. Casting Star Surge or Starfall increases the damage of your next Star Surge or Starfall by 10%, stacking up to 2 times. Casting another spell cancels this effect. Oh, so that actually is good with the astral power. Huh. So you'd basically want to stack up like a bunch of astral power and then dump. That's not currently like what you kind of. I mean, you kind of do that, but not as much. So that'd be kind of interesting. The extra astral power will actually really help with that. Casting Regrowth, Wild Growth, or Swiftmin increases the healing of your next Regrowth, Wild Growth, or Swiftmin by 10%. So I guess you could like stack up the buff and cast like a pretty big Swiftmin. I feel like in raid this isn't like amazing though. Like you're not really, you're mainly spamming Rejuves right now, so like, this is probably good in Mythic Plus, but I just don't. I don't know how much you're regrowthing in raid, but I guess you could do it like quickly stack up some the buff and get like a big wild growth out. That is just another thing to keep track of, so might be kind of annoying. Choice node, Grove Inspiration. Wrath and Starfire damage increased by 12%. Regrowth, Wild Growth, and Swift Min healing increased by 6%. Just bonus healing damage, not really that big of a deal. Persistent enchantments. Orbital Strike applies Stellar Flare for 20 seconds. Pulsar grants Celestial Alignment for 2 additional seconds. Reforestation grants Tree of Light. So, I don't know what Orbital Strike is, but I mean, everyone's playing Pulsar right now, so 2 additional seconds of Incarn's pretty big. I don't remember how Reforestation works, but I think that's just the proc Tree of Life, so fairly good. I don't know if you take that over this though. Like just 12%. Well, you probably would if you're balanced, because that's pretty big. Or that's not very crazy. Wrath doesn't really do that much damage. Alright, row 3. Choice node. Bounteous Bloom. Your Force of Nature treants generate 3 astral power every 2 seconds. Your Growth Guardian healing is increased by 20%. That's pretty solid with the talent up there that makes you want to stack for more, so you can keep pressing the same button with the damage buff. Treant healing is just whatever. It's not really that interesting. Force of Nature cooldown reduced by 10 seconds. Growth Guardian cooldown reduced by 3 seconds. I don't know how Force of Nature plays, but like Growth Guardians I feel like you almost always have up, so I'm not really sure how useful that is. Power of the Dream and Control the Dream. Force of Nature grants an additional stack of Dream Burst. Healing spells cast with Dreams Surge generate a additional Dream Petal. Scenarios might increase spell damage or healing by an additional 5%. What is Dream Burst? Oh. It's just the explosive. So that just increases like the key talent damage to like the explosion. Scenarios might. Is that just a... Oh, that's the stacking buff. That's pretty big for damage. Like, especially like this would be pretty strong on AoE. Scenario Smite is the stacking buff that you can do by casting the same ability multiple times in a row. Control of the Dream. Time elapsed while your major abilities are available to be used is subtracted from that ability's cooldown after the next time you use it, up to 5 seconds. Affects Nature Swiftness, Incarn, Tree of Life, Force of Nature, Celestial Alignment, and Convoke the Spirits. I assume that also means Incarn in general. It's only 5 seconds though. That feels kind of weak. Like 5 seconds on alignment. That it's still like, why would you hold that? Like, I feel like you would never play this. I guess if you held it for 5 seconds, it's probably what it's talking about. But like, I feel like that's not better than a 5% damage increase when you're like pumping out Star Surges. Like for some things like Convoke or Force of Nature, it might be good because you might want to like press those at certain moments, but like it doesn't feel insane. I would probably just take the first one. Blooming Infusion. Every 5 Reghosts you cast, make your next Rats, Starfire, and the Tingling Roots instant. Increasing the damage deals by 100%. Every 5 Starfires. Oh, so Balance actually does get a regrowth proc now. That's pretty good for survivability then. That actually really that's an 8% DR plus healing. I actually do like this talent. I feel like it's very helpful for both of them. Maybe not so much balance, because like, or resto, because like these don't have buffs. Like you're not getting buffs from that. Well, I guess you could get some damage buff, but it's not going to be massive, so it doesn't feel crazy for resto. Although the damage is increased pretty significantly, so maybe just adds a little more passive damage in there, and resto doesn't really have a lot of damage to begin with, so. But I do like the regrowth one because I know balanced druids do not want to press bear form, so a little extra DR here and there is gonna help, especially because you can get that fairly often, so you can have a lot of uptime of it. You probably just wouldn't press it that often because that's another global, but not bad. We'll get tired, man. Keeper of the Grove Capstone. Harmony of the Grove. Each of your Force of Nature treants increase damage your spells deal by 3% while active, so that's stacking. Each of your Grove Guardians increase healing by 3% while active. I just like the Force of Nature one seems better to me. I feel like with some of these other talents, like this one, like you're probably not gonna want to spam out. Like Grove Guardians, you're gonna want to keep them up. So it seems kind of counterintuitive. But this seems pretty good because you'll probably want Force of Nature up. Because if you take something like Bounteous Bloom, you get the 3 astral power generating, and you would have stacked, your astral power up. And then you can just dump for the Cenarius Might. And then you can generate more astral power while you're pumping and get more out with the big damage buff from this. So I feel like this is very pretty good for balance. Like I kind of like this for balance. You get some DR, you get some nice damage buffs, some cleave on your casted abilities. Fairly nice, especially when you're doing like, you know, 5 target cleave. Like balanced druids don't have great low target count damage. So it'll give them a little more of that. Like they're really good once you get a lot more targets than that, but on lower targets there's just much better classes, and I feel like that gives them a little extra to deal with that. But the healing one just doesn't feel that good. Like I don't feel like you'd really use this very much. Like especially it doesn't interact well with some of the other talents. The healing ones also just seem like whatever. Look, I'm not sure how much benefit you get in raid from playing this in resto. What's the other option for resto? Wild Stalker? That'll be interesting to see. I feel like this is not bad for M plus if you're playing resto. Because you're going to be doing a lot more regrowths and swiftmins and stuff. Like that's more useful in M plus, but like your raid build, like unless they drastically change, like the raid build is going to be the same regrowth or rejuve ramp. So, and this is mainly focused around spamming out regrowths and stuff. I also don't really like this. No, not that. So like if you think of Cenarius Might, this feels like annoying to do as resto. Not so much in Mythic Plus because you are gonna be regrowth spamming. Like you use a lot more regrowth, but like in Raid, you're almost never gonna like want to be pressing all these buttons like multiple times in a row to get like a fat stack wild growth. Like I mean you probably would, but like the current playstyle you don't really do that. So or you go to like spot healing, you don't really just like spam it out a bunch. Like rejuve is like your main way of getting big healing out. So I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out, but I don't think it's amazing.